Welcome to Divorganize. My name is Amanda DuBois and I'm a practicing family law attorney. I spend every single day in my office working with people going through the divorce process. And one thing I've learned from working with hundreds of families going through this process is that it's really, really scary for people when they've made the decision to get a divorce, or when someone has filed divorce papers and they've been served with divorce papers, which is really scary, and there's nothing that can throw your life upside down as quickly as entering into a divorce process. So I decided it might be helpful to put together a series of videos that explain the process in a really slow, simple, easy to understand fashion, where you can learn about your divorce rights, you can learn how to get a divorce, and you can learn about filing for divorce. But here's the thing. I don't practice law in every single state, so I can't tell you exactly what goes on in the state where you live. So what we're going to do in this process is we're going to do actually what they teach lawyers when we're studying for the bar exam, and it's called issue spotting. So we'll go through all the various things that are really important for you to focus on when you're in the divorce process, and we'll call it issue spotting. So that if you might live in California or Illinois or Kentucky, your laws will be a little bit different, but basically the process is the same. So this is an educational program. And I need to tell you that I'm not your lawyer. I can't give you any legal advice, of course, because I know nothing about your situation. But what I can do is I can empower you by educating you and giving you the information that you'll need to keep your balance going through this crazy process called divorce. We're going to start by talking about gathering together a team to support you during the process of your divorce. And from my perspective, I think it's important for everybody to have a team to support them. And on your team, you want to include people like your family and friends. But here's the thing. When you're going through a divorce, you really need to start seeing yourself in a way that's almost bigger than you imagine yourself. You need to see yourself kind of in a powerful way where you need to get a little bit above the fray, and you want to decide about who you're going to be in this process. So here's the deal. It might not be best to have your best friend or your mother or your sister as your main support person when you go through this process, and here's why. Sometimes if you're in the process of a divorce, your mom or your sister or your best friend might be angry at your ex, and they might be kind of egging you on to, you got to go get him, and you got to get everything you can, and you have to, basically scorched earth tactics, I think sometimes they call it. That might not be the very best way for you to approach this thing. So I'm going to suggest that somebody who has that much energy or that much hostility towards your ex might not be the best person for you to have on your team. You kind of want, most of us have like one or two friends who kind of see us bigger than we are. They kind of see us as somebody that can like hold us to be accountable for our best person. So if you have somebody like that in your life, I would suggest that that's who you want on your team. You want somebody who can say, do you really want to do that? Is that really best for your kids? Are you really going to go forward and co-parent children with this guy if that's the way you're going to approach your divorce? And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm just saying that if you're in a situation where that's what you want to do, then you need to make that decision, and we'll talk about that in the vision process, which is in a different session. So you got your family and friends. Some people want a therapist on their team. This is, heaven knows this is really a emotional time, and it's a perfect time to get a good, strong therapist on your side. So you might want a therapist. Some people want a spiritual advisor. They might want their pastor or some person in their church or whatever their spiritual tradition is to hold them, sort of to remember how to see themselves bigger than they think that they can be or than they are. So you might want a spiritual person. Some people actually want a lawyer, if you can believe that. Actually, sometimes lawyers can be really helpful in this process. And we're going to talk, we have a session actually on how to choose the appropriate divorce lawyer for your situation. So if you're going to get a divorce, you want to make sure that you have a divorce lawyer that's going to echo your philosophy on the divorce process. And we'll talk about how to interview a lawyer and how to figure out what's the best lawyer for your process. Once you gather the team, we're going to put together a planner for your divorce. And at the beginning of the planner, what you want to do is list who's going to be on your team. And you want to give a lot of thought to that, because these are the people that you want to share what's going on with you. Now I'm going to talk like a lawyer for just a second. One thing you don't want to talk to your team about is if you do hire a lawyer, whatever you talk to your lawyer about is confidential. and it's between you and your lawyer. And as long as you're sort of in this little cone of silence between you and the lawyer, that attorney-client privilege is what we call it, that's maintained. But if you go to your lawyer and your lawyer says, here's our strategy, and you guys come up with this whole legal strategy, and then you go share that with your therapist or your friend, and let's say things don't go well in your divorce and you end up in a situation where somebody has to have their deposition taken, or maybe the therapist's records are subpoenaed. There's nothing a lawyer finds more discouraging than having our client's therapy records subpoenaed and then finding out that our client has gone to the therapist and gone through the whole legal strategy, and then there it is sort of out there for everybody to see. So if you do decide to hire a lawyer, you need to talk to your lawyer about that, and you need to be sure that when you share with people on your team what's going on with you and your divorce process, that you don't necessarily tell them all of your legal strategy that you figured out with your lawyer. So you're going to get this team together, you're going to put them in the beginning of your planner to say who it is that's going to hold you accountable, and then we're going to go into this process called coming up with a vision for your divorce. And once we have a vision for the divorce, then that will kind of inform everything that you do as far as, going through the process and how it's going to happen, because there are amicable divorces and there are contested divorces and there are high conflict divorces and any number of things in between. Once you get a good read on exactly how you're going to approach this, then you can go forward with the process in a more thoughtful, planned, educated manner. And my basic job, as I see it, is to educate you, let you know what your choices are. And as we go through this process, we're going to just start issue spotting. We're going to talk about things like separate property and marital property, and which states have community property, and all kinds of issues that will be treated differently in different states. But as long as you know what the issues are, it'll be easier for you to figure out what's applicable to you in your situation. So with that, I'm going to stop this session, and what you need to do as you go into the next session is kind of decide who you want to be in this process, decide how you want to approach it, and then we're going to go into the divorce vision process to give you an opportunity to really create that vision for yourself, and then we'll get into the substantive details of the nitty-gritty of actually what happens in the divorce process.